All right, we are live for the midweek edition of the Morning Check-In. And as always, looking forward to connecting, sharing my 2 cents on a variety of subject matter, and trying to filter through the noise and make sense of what's happening to, make sense, basically, of all the chaos and confusion that is being pumped out through the mainstream media. So we have Iran debacle unfolding. We have the debt continuing to climb. We have Jerome Powell decision today, or lack thereof. We have gold telling us what's really happening. We have so much stuff happening in the country and in the world. But then again, my goal is to just focus on things that really catch my attention, and it happens to be centered around the debt, the monetary system, and the debt, and destruction of our currency. And so, as always, welcome to the live stream. Looking forward to connecting. For those who are plugged in, no matter where you're watching it, let me know what you're keeping your eyes on. Feel free to chime in via the chat or in the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking, and we're gonna make the most of today while we are together. And so, I got 5 or 6 stories that I want to touch on, all relevant to the monetary system. Just because it's hard to navigate the geopolitics, because all the geopolitics confusion and Middle Eastern conflict has already been predetermined. We know, the U.S. is going to intervene in Iran at some point. We know that all this is a part of the bigger picture of rebooting the monetary system and ushering in whatever comes next, and we know what that is. But in the meantime, the goal is to keep our eye on the prize, which is how to protect and preserve everything we work hard for. And of course, sound money is at the middle of all that. So we're going to talk about that a lot more. So I'm going to get into the good news, which happens to be from the Word of God. Then we're going to get into some of the market activity, and then we'll get through some of the headlines, try to make sense of what those things are. So, as always, if you have thoughts, ideas, suggestions, drop them in a comment. We'll make the most of our time. So, I'm going to jump right into the good news, market activity. Then we'll get into some of the headlines, primarily the noise, to try to make sense of it. So, it's going to be a good morning to say the least. So, if you have not, let me just get to that. If you have not, hit that thumbs up, check mark, like mark, whatever, just to show your support for the channel. And if you find anything of value throughout any of this discussion, feel free to chop it up, share it, whatever, so people can get an alternative perspective as to what's going on here. And then also, I want to encourage people, if you haven't, take a minute, 2 minutes max, test your dollar IQ. Go to rethinkingthedollar.com/quiz. And it's basically just the beginning of what I consider to be monetary literacy. Everything you need to know about money prior to venturing into the subject matter of financial literacy, which is what do you do with the dollar after you've already earned it. Big difference between what money is, what you do with it after you've earned it. The same system that is in control now is the same ones who have set up all the products and services that are competing for your currency, while all along we don't have much operating time left within the purchasing power of our currency. So rethinkingthedollar.com/quiz, and you can begin your journey. All right, so let's jump right into the good news, my good people. All right, so here we got gratitude. Despite all the things happening in the world, I am reminded of the importance of being grateful for what I do have, and also keeping a long-term perspective in reference to my position now, my calling, and my ability to help and encourage others. That's a part of the things I'm grateful for. So let's just jump in there real quick. Let me zoom in. It says gratitude and everything. Give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. This is coming from 1 Thessalonians 5:18. And then it goes on to read, what if I told you gratitude is not just good manners, it's kingdom protocol. Jesus just didn't teach us to be thankful, he lived it. In John 11, before raising Lazarus from the dead, Jesus looked up and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. He gave thanks before the miracle even happened. And the question is, why? Because gratitude acknowledges the king's authority before you see his hand actually moving on your behalf. So in the wilderness, Israel complained and stayed stuck. But in Psalms 100, we're told to enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. So gratitude is the password into the presence of the king. It says when you thank God in everything, not for everything, but in everything, you declare that the king is greater than the chaos or your circumstances. Gratitude shifts your perspective from survival to dominion. It turns your waiting room into a throne room. The closing prayer is, Father, I thank you in all things, knowing your kingdom is working all things for my good. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. And as always, the goal is to encourage you and to edify your spirit, man, this morning. So hopefully that was done. If you did find something that got you charged up, give me an amen, hit that thumbs up, or take it and share it. Once again, the whole point is to share it so more people can be spiritually charged as well. And that's your way of helping to spread the good news, my good people. Okay, so let's get into some market activity. What do we have going on? Let me just look at, I noticed that, I think it was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, that gold did its thing, got up to silver, $37. So as we look at the screen right now, let me refresh this, bring this back over here. We have gold at 33.86 and silver at 36.86. And let me just take a look at it from a different perspective. Let me go down here and let's look over the last 5 days. And this is what we have as far as silver's activity. And as we can see here, it has been very, very active these days, given all the turbulence and turmoil. And so it looks like it peaked. It peaked at $37.29 as of this morning. If it says Wednesday the 18th, yep. So this morning, it looks like 2 a.m. And that's obviously as a result of the markets in Asia probably coming towards an end, closing. And so here we are now at 36-ish and some change. And so once again, as bombs drop, silver and gold will respond. And so that is always some good news. Now let's look into what's happening with the equities market. It looks like there's been some optimism as a result of some rumors of the possibility of Iran reaching out to Trump to communicate and trying to come up with a deal. And so once again, Trump right now, I'm watching a couple of videos. He's out here talking big and bad still, basically leaving it wide open as to whether there will or will not be discussions. And of course, the market responds. And so just a mere hint of Iran wanting to make a deal, a lot of people are triggering the fact that that's why we're starting off today in the green. And of course, we got the FOMC meeting where Jerome Powell will not cut because there's no need to cut. Everything is okay. The economy is doing great according to their metrics. But in reality, we all know that's not the case. And of course, as a result of that, Donald Trump is not happy and even talked about what would the world be or how much better the job would be if he was Fed. And then he put out a question as, can I actually be the Fed? So, yeah, once again, a president that talks and runs his mouth, markets move, while all along we know what to do. Get grounded in precious metals, my good people. Okay, so let me share with you some headlines here. So as always, you can get all these stories here coming from the rtd.news page. And so just scroll down below, click rtd.news in your URL. It'll take you right here and you can see what I am going to talk about here. So I got lots of stories here and I'm going to just thumb through them, share my 2 cents on it, just because, as I mentioned, talking about the geopolitical conflict right now, it's hit or miss. We know Israel is going to continue to do what they do, provoke, instigate, and look to basically use the U.S. as their proxies to fight for them. We know at some point Iran is going to be bombed by the U.S. and everything that comes with that. You know, everybody kind of knows that. So there's no point in really talking about that. It's just more so when and what happens as a result of that. What does China, what does Russia do? That's what we'll all have to wait and see. But in the meantime, let's talk about things that, you know, we can actually, I guess, anticipate and respond with when it comes to the financial side of things. So as we can see here, very first subject matter. Trump says stupid Powell probably won't cut rates when Fed meeting ends today. And just the fact that he already knows Jerome's not moving. Because anybody in their right mind know that if the economy is doing as good as everyone would like for us to believe that it is, why would we need to cut? The only time you cut based upon previous Fed cuts when they stepped in and intervened at the magnitude of which Trump is calling for was during the middle of a crisis. And so is that Trump's way of quasi hinting at that we are really in more of a crisis territory than we are in a recovery type of territory? Once again, massive job losses, CPI figures are still well above what the mandated 2% is. And we all use all the other metrics, lets us know that, you know, we're already in a recession. And by the time they respond, it'll be probably because of some depressionary type forces. And so, but a plan accordingly is what I'm getting at. Okay, so here's a headline I want to touch on that kind of hides, you know, shines more light into this left-right paradigm, good guy, bad guy narrative that, you know, the powers that be love to have us believe is, you know, is something we're paying attention to. Because at the end of the day, as always mentioned, our government can exist without debt, and the Federal Reserve doesn't exist without expanding the monetary base, i.e. in the form of credit extension, which ultimately steals from the people, and we, the people, gets left with the bags through a diminishing of purchasing power of our currency. That is the cycle that we've witnessed since the creation of the Federal Reserve over 100 years ago. Nothing's going to change. This president here is not even talking about the damages done by the Fed. He's up here calling Powell stupid for not cutting rates, which expands the monetary base. So clearly, he's operating in his own best interest, and the people who will benefit the most, which happen to be the people who take out the most debt at low borrowing costs and then profit on the margin or the spread into which they will earn rewards from those that debt that they took out. Typical capitalism, I guess, or creditism, not capitalism, creditism. In order to have capitalism, you need actual capital, i.e., savings. Average person don't have savings, so these individuals here are dependent on credit. So it's more so modern day creditism, if that's a word. Anyway, let's just get into this real quick because I think this is interesting. More jawboning from the commander-in-chief, which I'm very critical of because I know what he's doing and where he's taking us, and it won't be good for you and I in the end. But anyway, okay, so here we got Trump doing a little, spiel, basically just ranting, telling his version of truth, and it definitely doesn't help us at all. But it says here, with the Federal Reserve just hours away from its latest decision on interest rates, Jerome Powell, President Donald Trump, a wizzy, lambasted Chair Jerome Powell, calling him stupid while doubting the central bank will cut. So think about this. The President of the United States, who, we're used to this behavior, but once again, calling a private entity and their chosen banker stupid solves what? Accomplishes what? But, we've grown to expect him to just speak off the cuff according to what he feels, and he can get away with it because, once again, nobody can stop him. And it says here, in the latest series of attacks on Powell that goes back years, Trump said that Fed's key borrowing rate should be at least 2 percentage basis points lower. So at least 2%. So right now we're about 4.5% interest Fed funds rate. He's calling for 2.5%. And the closer we get to zero, the less valuable our currency becomes beyond what it is now. Because when you get to zero or you go below zero, that basically says that debt is more valuable than actual capital itself. And so when we go back to NERP, once we go back to zero, and we will be forced to go below zero, which basically means the government and the Federal Reserve will be paying you to take out debt, meaning it'll be in your best interest to take out debt because you have to pay back less at their expense. Think about that. That, to me, my friends, is the end of an era, because never before has this experimentation been done, nevertheless succeeded. And everybody who depends upon these things, which are the tools that they will be using, if your entire lifestyle depended upon this, today, tomorrow, and 20 years from now, you've already lost. That's why it's never been more important to make sure you get something real tangible that you can feel. That's just monetary common sense, in my opinion. Okay, but give you some more here. I think this is interesting. So, quote, we have a stupid person. Frankly, you probably won't cut today. A stupid person. Trump said in an impromptu remarks just outside the White House. And so what people fail to realize or admit is that Jerome Powell is and was appointed by Trump. And so once her name left, Donald Trump is the one that appointed Jerome Powell. And so now he put him in this position, and obviously something's changed, or the good guy, bad guy is a part of their psyop to accomplish this great reset. You got to have the good guy, which apparently is Trump, and you got to have the bad guy, which apparently is Powell. And it's the back and forth that creates a narrative, which makes it look as if like there's confusion in D.C., the left and the right and this and that, when we all know where this has to go. Because rates can't go up forever without impacting the United States government when it comes to being able to actually sustain this. And so if you haven't noticed or been paying attention to, this number can't stop or go down. And the last time I was on here talking about this number, it was at 36.7. Now it's at 36.99, which means that by next week, we're going to reach $37 trillion. That, my friends, is an all time high. And that, my friends, can never be repaid. So, no wonder Donald Trump is calling for rate cuts so that our government can actually begin being able to sustain the interest payments on this because they can never touch the principal. So I can understand why he's so pressed for lower rates. I understand. Ponzi scheme can't go on unless it's maintainable because of the rates. Okay, back to my point here. And so let me get back to my story here. So just walk you through the narrative so that I can reemphasize the point of not trusting anything and anyone in DC, whether it be the current president, whether it be the current Federal Reserve chairman. Both of them are operating on the best interest of those that actually know what's going on. The average Joe and Jane, the average person on Main Street has no monetary understanding at all, because if they knew, our country wouldn't be in the position we're in now by allowing a private bank to actually issue credit on our behalf and then make us pay interest on it. So that's how I know that a lot of people are not doing too well. Okay, but it says here, just more Donald Trump. Europe had 10 cuts and we had none. And I guess he's a political guy. I don't know. He's a political guy who's not a smart man, but he's costing the country a fortune. So the idea of costing the country a fortune has everything to do with the amount of interest that the United States currently pays and will have to pay as we have to roll over trillions of dollars worth of short-term liabilities. And as a result of this, it will cost us way more, meaning the deficit grows because Uncle Sam's going to have to borrow that much more. And so the fact that he's not presenting a solution, he's calling for cuts, lets us know that he's only going to add to the problem even more. So we have a compounding effect of malfeasance within the central government and the central bank. And ultimately, the people in the middle are the holders of the currency that they're going to weaponize. And that's the part where it just continues to bother me. The reason I log on is because I hope that people can understand that whether it's left, right, good guy, bad guy, everybody who based their lives upon this in the middle are the ones that will be casualties of monetary malfeasance. And that's why it's important to understand and have a strategy on how you begin to redeem these notes and get into something that has no counterparty risk, has no liabilities, cannot be printed with a man calling for another man to cut rates to expand the monetary base. I rest my case. Okay, so I can go on and on and on, but Donald Trump's pleading for cuts so that our government can borrow more at a cheaper rate and pay the interest of what we already owe at a cheaper rate. So at some point when the system breaks or we actually the US actually officially drops a bomb in Iran, then the markets will respond negatively. Stock market gonna crash. All the other indices are gonna crash. Gold and silver may take a dip, but it's gonna shoot up first and the hardest because it's a global race to secure tangible wealth in the form of sound money. And once again, this is not my opinion. I have some proof here that a lot of people are anticipating the price of gold and silver to go to places that we've never seen. So here we got experts. Mid-East conflict could, I would say would, drive gold to $55,000. Sorry. And so just to give you a little bit of thoughts on this, it says gold prices could potentially rise to $5,000 per ounce or higher if Iran-Israel conflict escalates significantly, driven by its status as a safe haven asset during geopolitical turmoil. It says even Wall Street banks, including Goldman Sachs and Bank of America, are advising clients gold could surge beyond 4,000 ounces in the next 12 to 18 months. It says the ongoing Iran-Israel conflict has already pushed gold prices higher, with the spot gold reaching $3,451 on June 16th and trading at $33.98 as of June 17th. If the conflict intensifies, with Iran retaliating with drone strikes, disrupting oil choke points like the Strait of Hormuz, or draws the U.S. into indirectly, investors are likely going to flock to gold, driving prices upward. And so there you have potential analysis from a bank as to what people will more than likely do just out of sheer fear of not wanting to be in a weaponized currency, no matter whether it's the euro, the dollar, the yen. Every government going to get involved in some capacity because the markets will impact their nation state, and then they're all going to have to cut rates, and they're all going to have to print, and that will be the event that ends this current monetary paradigm, hands down. Hands down. There's no way around this. So Donald Trump will be the last president under this current monetary structure. It's quite obvious to me. Hopefully it is to you as well. And my point is, if we're expecting trillions upon trillions to be created, therefore the $100 in your bank account, the $1,000 in your bank account, the $100,000 in your bank account will ultimately be devalued in proportion to the amount of currency created. So if 10 trillion is created, your 100,000 now will lose what? Like within that day, within that week, because of the competition your 100,000 now has is that much greater, your purchasing power will be diminished by the percentage of whatever that increase of currency expansion will be. 15%, 20%, 30%, gone that quick. And it's going to be transferred into something that absorbs all that new liquidity, which what we just saw is gold. So that $5,000 minimum price, that's $1,000, that's $1,200 more now in potential purchasing power that is not there now in gold. And if you put $10 trillion extra on there, that $5,000 gold point could easily be $8,000. So that's additional $3,000. It's not come out of nowhere. It's coming from parked in safety, or it's coming from that new currency as people who borrow that new currency go buy gold, therefore driving up the nominal price. And of course, silver, cheapest form of money on the world, on the planet. $38 right now, $37, $36, $50, $75, $100. Easy, in my opinion, if we get to that point. But I could be wrong. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But in the meantime, don't wait for stuff to happen before you already get yourself positioned, is my point. Okay. A couple other things here worth touching on. Let me go back here and give it to you straight. Let me get back my pages here. And so as a result of all this name calling from this administration, we have a debt ceiling, the big, beautiful bill. We got all types of stuff. And so here we got forecasts from the CBO, Congressional Budget Office. It says Trump budget bill would significantly increase the deficit, says the CBO. So once again, no one is really in favor of the big, beautiful bill other than the Republican side, just like nobody was in favor of the Build Back Better bill other than the Democratic side. And both bills added 4 or 5 trillion into existence, and all types of pork bills in between where money was going to people we don't even know about. So whether it's Republican or Democrat, all they know how to do is the same thing, which is to borrow and spend and destroy our currency. So once again, like, I know the bill will go through in some form because both Democrats and Republicans will jockey back and forth trying to get their special causes and donations to their causes put into the bill as a payoff, and then it'll pass. That's just how it always happens. And along the way, people who are destroyed are the people who depend upon the very currency that they create out of nowhere. So that's just a little matter of fact, as it has always happened. And it can't stop unless the system comes to an end. And at the end of the day, you know why this is so important. Because Donald Trump, he will be the last president under this current monetary format. Because next we have the solely digital realm coming with stable coins that everyone's so excited about now that the Genius Act has passed the Senate and will be eventually signed into law, allowing every bank and every, for most part, monetary entity to create their own stable coin so that they can actually buy U.S. government debt. And it's another way of creating synthetic currency that will flood the world as well. And the side effect will be more currency chasing fewer goods, therefore eventual higher inflation. So this remaining 2%, 3% of purchasing power, it's just like that. Okay. But you guys knew that already. Okay, so let me get to a couple other things here, and then we'll go from there. I showed you, let me see, bring this on the screen. I showed you guys this one. This is just a CBO. I can give you some context to this. It says Congressional Budget Office released a new dynamic score of President Trump's one big beautiful bill on Tuesday, estimating it would increase the budget deficit by 2.8 trillion over the next decade. Once again, Donald Trump will be gone. He won't care. It'll be, I think JD Vance will be on his second term by then, as if he wasn't already chosen. It says a fresh score of the factors in effect of the GDP and interest rates exceeds CBO's previous estimate of 2.4. So initially, based upon their investigation, it was 2.4 trillion deficit. Now they upgraded about 400 billion to 2.8. So once again, you can do the math here. But once again, the idea that it's called Big Beautiful Bill means that it's going to be more currency created. So how can it not be problematic at some point? Because creating new currency can't reduce the debt we owe on the back end of this. It's not possible because our country will not grow fast enough to pay back anything. So once again, all this stuff is just foolishness. But after a while, you kind of, I kind of find myself saying the same thing because it never will change. Neither can it actually change. Let me go back. Okay. So let me just give you some headlines. And then if you guys are interested, as always, go to rtd.news, check it out for yourself. So we got just another article here. Trump tax cuts continue to drive long-term budget deficit. The most inexpensive in the United States of America, Trump again demands easy money to fund even bigger deficits. The dollar's next big move. 1984 next introduction is a missed opportunity. My thoughts about the retail sales. This from Wolf Wall Street. Retail sales down much more than expected. We got Paul Tudor Jones. Every day I assume my positions are wrong. What else we got here? Meta floated a $100 million offer to poach OpenAI team as AI talent wars heat up. So imagine the average white collar job for somebody who just uses the internet and helps build the internet and helps build AI, they're getting fired. But people who help build AI and know the in-depth of the engineering structure of AI, they're being offered $100 million job offers to go from one company to the next. So that's where it tells you the skill set you have. If it's needed and it's rare and it's scarce and unique, there's no amount of currency that'll be brought your way. And then we got other stuff here. Okay, so I'll spare you guys the rest of that. But anyway, so the goal was to just connect, share my 2 cents on what's going on. Donald Trump out here calling names again. The Fed will not cut. There's no need to cut. The economy's doing great. And we just wait till something breaks, and then they'll be forced to cut. And then Jerome Powell will, blame that reason as to why he had to cut. Donald Trump would then blame him for saying he should have cut faster. But it's gonna cut. He's gonna cut at the right time when he's supposed to. When all this we're experiencing is ultimately being orchestrated and planned by the people who are in charge of this left-right paradigm that we live in. So once again, nothing should surprise you, because all along the dollar will continue to lose purchasing power, which is a fact. Our debt will continue to go up, and everybody who based their lives upon this instrument here are losing. So in the meantime, you know what to do. Get your weight up. Get physical. Minimize your risk and exposure to something that you know is against you automatically. Get physical. And just some options, some strategies for those who might want to get physical. I think one of the most affordable ways is to get, as it says here, this is a 1/4 grain, 24 karat mini bar. So if you're interested, go to minigoldbars.com. Links in the description to take you right here. Get yourself some gold of any form of fashion so you can help absorb some of this purchasing power that will be transferred when this next heist comes with the monetary expansion. And then also, if you have not, I encourage you, go get you some gold notes, some cash gold. I'm sorry, gold notes here. Go to buygoldnotes.com. Links in the description. These prices will not go down. They only go up because it's 24 karat gold, people. And then also, for those who want to be a part of a community of like-minded individuals that actually are about that weight, getting your weight up, then I encourage you to become a member of the Quicksilver Wealth Accelerated community. And you can do that by joining my silver team. And so links in the description here. You get a chance to become a member of this community here. Get your weight up, automate your weight, and then take your information, share it with others, and help people get their weight up. And so here is an example of what is available on the RTD Silvers Team store that people shop at all the time. And once again, just my way of trying to help others get their weight up, because I have a passion for understanding monetary events and trying to help people improve their monetary literacy. So all the information you need is in the description. Go check it out. And other than that, be blessed, be safe, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. Shalom.